Hello, everyone. This is Victoria.matea, and you are listening to Mindful Wellness for Autism Moms. Yes, we have finally changed our title back, Mindful Wellness for Autism Moms. It is so important for everyone that is truly looking for support from a community on a podcast that was made by them for them. This podcast was made by me as an autism mom, and it came from living in the trenches day by day, doing everything I can for my children and supporting them in all the ways that I can, and wanting to also practice proper self-care for myself so that I can give from a full cup instead of an empty cup. I realized the importance of sleep, mindset, movement, and nutrition was the foundation of how I could start to build myself up emotionally, physically, mentally, so that I can show up as the mom that I really wanted to do. When a child is given a diagnosis, no doctor, therapist, or neurologist, anyone ever turns to the mom and says, hey, listen, it is imperative that you practice self-care, that you take care of yourself so that you will be able to be strong for the long run. You never know this trajectory. For some kiddos, they hit milestones a little bit later, other kiddos a lot longer, and then some kiddos, some milestones they never hit. You need to be ready. That has never been said. And so, because of that, I wanted to create this podcast so that moms all around the world can feel that support. They can feel that voice that says, yes, I see you, I understand you. And that is what this podcast was birthed from. The mom care coach is still who I am. I love being the mom care coach. It's so important to me. But Mindful Wellness for Autism Moms is a title that many women around the world can resonate with because they can see themselves in the title. And so that is why we have changed it back. If you recall, and you've been here from the very beginning, we did start with Mindful Wellness for Autism Moms, but at some point we did change that title because that is still who I am. So thank you so much for being here. Hi, I am Victoria, and I hope that you are here for the long run. If this is the first time that you are checking me out, thank you so much for being here. I hope that this episode blesses you, that this podcast blesses you, and please do not forget to share this with all the other ladies in your life that are also autism moms and looking for that additional support, even if it comes from a podcast, which is perfectly awesome because so many of us spend more time at home and in our communities versus out going about the world because we look through things through the lens of autism for so many of us. And so if you are a person that loves to look at these or listen to these episodes or look at them sometimes on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming back. And again, please always share with others in your life that you feel that will receive the support and be joyful about it. So let's get into this episode today. This is a little bit of a different episode. We are totally working with a mindset with this episode. Today, I've heard from so many of you ladies talking about the importance of putting ourselves on the list, how sometimes we don't do that, and wanting to, how sometimes we self-sabotage, not wanting to do that. Where do we start? And so today we're going to start with a few questions. And just for you to kind of think about and kind of get those creative juices flowing so that we can answer some answers in our own life, how we can really support ourselves with mindset. So our one big idea is yes, you can put yourself on the list, but you must think about yourself first. Now, let me explain. So, when we are autism moms all day, we are looking to make sure that our child is perfectly okay, that they have the support that they need, that all the details that needs to happen as being a parent, feeding our children, feeding ourselves, taking care of the household, going to IEP meetings, showing up for whatever job that we have, if we're working outside of the home or working inside of the home, who that we need to share the mental load with in order to help our lives to function. We need to know all the therapies we need to sign up for. Maybe there's some new ones, maybe there's some alternative therapies. Should we detox our child? Should we wait a little while? Should we do it really, really slow? Should we go to a facility to do it? Or should we not and just wait as they grow up? All of the different questions that we will often ask. can weigh on us and create this not mental load, but also a physical load where we can actually, it can be this almost palatable feeling that we can feel on our bodies. With all of that going on, it is also the necessary helicopter mom that we become. In the world, helicopter mom is this mom that is overseeing everything, needs to control everything, but that's not necessarily what they need to do. And so it's more of this neurotypical idea. However, in our lives, that is something we must do. And the reason why is for the safety of our child, so that we can also keep other people safe that is around our child, to be able to micro dissect if there are needs that are unmet for our child, especially if they're nonverbal, or maybe they're verbal, but they just don't know how to articulate what their needs are. There's so much that goes into being an autism mom. And at the end of the day, often we are so exhausted, it's hard to actually think about what it is our self-care needs are. So that's why I say we have to think of ourselves first. That's when it comes to our list. That's when it comes to our planning. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge everything else that needs to happen. But when it comes to doing our weekly plan, I've also mentioned like a weekly Sunday sit down. Whenever you sit down to plan your week, what's happening in your week? Who has appointments? Who's doing the grocery shopping? Who is washing the kids? Who is picking up from school? Who is going to the therapy appointments? Who's taking your child to the dentist, to the doctor, all of the things? When you're writing all of that stuff down in your planner, it's important to write all of that down. But first, we also need to remember that we must plan for our self-care. Otherwise, it will not happen. Just because, not because we don't care about ourselves, but because we love our children so much that we often will put them first and not even think about that we need to plan our own self-care as well. Just like we have to put on all the important appointments that needs to go on there for our children, and our work that we need to do, and all the other things that we carry needs to go on our weekly planner, we also must plan our self-care. Sleep, mindset, movement, and nutrition. That is the foundation of self-care. We must have those things intact, and we must place them on our plan so they actually get done. Otherwise, we will inadvertently self-sabotage ourselves, meaning we will not be able to move forward in our self-care because we haven't planned it. And so when we haven't planned it, there will be other things that will feel like it must take precedence over what our self-care needs are. Some of us actually have a problem with saying yes to everything, and we will say yes to other people and put them in front of us even if it has nothing to do with our child. Some of us struggle with people pleasing, and we will say, yes, I will help you with that. Yes, I will do that volunteer thing. Yes, I will go and pick up your child or whatever, instead of saying, hey, that would be a time that I could actually get some movement in, or that would be a time that I can actually plan out my meals. I know that my child we already have their safe foods in the home. We already have all of that taken care of because we must do that in advance, because we need to make sure that it is the brand that they like, the kind that they like, all of those things. But sometimes if we do not take the time to think about what we need when it comes to our self-care, we don't have a time penciled in to actually think about that, then it just will not happen. So today, let's talk about 3 things that we can do to actually make sure that we have our Sunday sit down specifically for our personal self-care. Number 1, have a Sunday sit down that, even if it's easier for you where you have a different time than you do your weekly planning, there needs to be a time that you do your weekly planning when you're going to go grocery shopping and doing all the things for the household, but maybe have a different time. Set aside another 10 to 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes so that you can do your personal self-care plan. And you can do that and layer that in your planner, your weekly planner, on what days you're going to do your movement, What days are you going to do your grocery shopping? Can you do it at the same time that you do the grocery shopping for the rest of the family? What days are you going to do your meal prep that is specific to you? Now, I know everybody is different, but I know some of us have kiddos that will only eat certain things, and so we already have that taken care of. We can't leave that up to chance, or it can be very, very difficult in our household. So, because we already have that taken care of, we don't want to allow chance where we will eat. What will we eat? Has that been planned out? When will we eat? Has that been planned out? Sometimes we can have difficulty with that as well. But if we take 10 to 30 minutes every week to decide what we're going to eat as autism mama, how we're going to nourish our body, do we want to have green smoothies? Do we want to have protein shakes? How are we going to have, if we want to have extra protein in our life? Maybe we want to focus just on proteins, fruits, and vegetables, and nuts and seeds. I don't know. Whatever it is that makes your heart sing when it comes to the nutrition aspect, that needs to be planned out. As well as the movement. Are you going to move your body? With walking, with cycling, with swimming? Can you do it 2 to 3 times a day? Or, I'm sorry, 2 to 3 times a week. Or maybe every day for 10 minutes with like a Pilates session. We need to have that planned out as well. Mindset. I love to do mindset like reading a good book and doing some journaling. We can start with something as simple as journaling for just 5 minutes a day, right before we go to bed, or before we come home from work, or if we're sitting in the car, journal for 5 minutes. Maybe when we first wake up in the morning, it works out better for us. We can like look about some little tweaks and shifts that we can do to make sure we're getting that self-care in. Maybe we want to read a good book. When can we read it? We can kind of plan all of that out. And of course, we don't want to forget about sleep. Sleep is so important, but just like all the other areas when it comes to our four intentional needs, it needs planning as well. How about our sleep hygiene? Are we turning off screens at least an hour before the time to go to bed? Are we taking a hot bath so that we will be all ready? Do we lay out our PJs? Do we make it like a whole routine where we lay out our PJs and put on clean sheets, blacken the curtains? What are we doing? Maybe we want to have some essential oils going like after a little while. Put on the Himalayan salt lamps so that we can dim some of our other regular lamps, or big fluorescent lights, so we don't have to have that. It can be very helpful. What are we doing when it comes to the sleep hygiene? Are we getting morning sunlight? Are we moving first thing in the morning so that it can help our serotonin levels to help make melatonin later on in the day? Are we working with our circadian rhythms? Are we seeing how we can help our body, encourage our body? Maybe it's supplementation that we need to do. Maybe we need to do certain kinds of exercises. Are we Googling to see, okay, what are the best kinds of exercises? What are we doing to help with sleep? I always said that it can feel so overwhelming when you have a child that doesn't sleep throughout the night. And it can feel like there's so much we cannot do. But if we're able to sit down and spend some time, we will be able to discover that even though it may feel like there's so much we can't do, there's actually a lot that we can do to support ourselves and to help ourselves to thrive. And that is what we're wanting to do. Let's look at another tip. So we did our Sunday sit down. We have planned it for the week for our family to make sure everything flows. And we've also taken time for a Sunday sit down for ourselves. How about making sure that we are communicating? So tip number 2, communicating what our needs are with those that are also in the household when it comes to whatever your supports are. Do you have a respite care worker? Do you have a husband or someone that can help, that also helps you with your family? Maybe it is a family member. Maybe it's a friend or a resource worker, someone that is helping. Whoever that is, we also want to communicate what our needs are in the home. Why? Because let's say you have planned time to do movement in the afternoon and that hasn't been communicated with your husband. So something comes up at work for him, and so decides to do something a little bit different, and he has no idea that you are trying to work on your self care. So that's another way of self sabotaging when we're not communicating with the people that we need to communicate in order for things to work well. And then tip number three, this is also very important. It is making sure that you are the ultimate person when it comes to supporting your self care. What I mean by that is when we have self care and we're thinking about the different things that we can do to really help ourselves with our four intentional needs, let's say we are wanting to make sure that we get the movement in and we have a plan that someone's going to watch your child after work and you're going to go to the gym. Always have like a backup just in case it doesn't work out. Maybe, like I said before, your husband has to work overtime, or maybe the respite worker is supposed to come to your house but they don't come. Maybe they got sick or something. If you have another plan where you can do a walk around your neighborhood for your movement, and just in case if it doesn't work out, you can put your child in a big kid stroller, or just having another option, or taking them where you guys are going to the playground if it's a secure playground and it's a place that you've gone before and it works out well for you and your family. That's another option. Or maybe you are doing a workout at home. Always have another plan in place so that the ultimate person that your self-care falls on is you. That way, you can guarantee that you're able to focus on and move forward with and be consistent with your four intentional needs without hoping and wondering and making sure and hoping that everything falls in place. But sometimes things happen. If we always have like a backup plan, then we know that it always falls on us. So in order for it to be executed, we know the buck stops with us, and it will happen if we decide it will happen. So I hope that this was an awesome episode that kind of get you to think about how you can support your life and yourself and be successful and consistent in your self-care. So thank you so much for being here, and until you join us next time, thank you so much. Goodbye.